Hi, I'm Qureshi from Georgia Tech. I'll be talking about rethinking ECC designs for rowhammer. Rowhammer is a disturbance failure. Technology scaling brings cell closer and increases leakage. When a row is accessed, it causes a small amount of leakage from the cells of the neighboring rows. When you activate a row a large number of times, this cumulative leakage from the neighboring row can be enough to cause a bit flip. Rowhammer was first demonstrated in 2014 and has continued to be a reliability and security threat for the past 7 years. There have been several solutions that try to mitigate rowhammer. For example, increasing the refresh rate. Instead of doing refreshes at 64 milliseconds, do it at 32 milliseconds or 16 milliseconds. Unfortunately, there's a lot of power and performance overhead to this. And again, this does not eliminate rowhammer. Second class of solutions is to proactively refresh the victims of a given aggressor. Track the number of accesses. If it reaches a certain threshold, then do the mitigation. The problem with this sort of approach, it depends on knowing the threshold, and the threshold really varies across cells and times. Second, you don't always know the location information to determine the victim rows. Third, even distant rows can get rowhammer failure. So how many rows should you protect at any given time? Finally, it was thought that if you have ECC memories, they will tolerate rowhammer, but a recent attack, ECC ploy, demonstrates rowhammer on segmented memories and even discusses how Chipkill might not be safe. So we don't have any guaranteed solutions for rowhammer. Rowhammer is not just a reliability problem. It's a serious security threat, where rowhammer can cause a hijacking of the system and leakage of sensitive data. There's a lot of ongoing work on mitigating rowhammer, and we encourage research in this important area. In fact, if we could get a guaranteed solution that works across all systems and across all attacks, current and future ones, then we don't need to worry about rowhammer anymore. We can worry about other things. But if the past 7 years has taught us anything, is that all solutions have weaknesses, and eventually there would be some attack that will exploit the weakness, and the question is not if the solution can be broken, but when the solution can be broken. So it would be wise to assume that even whatever mitigation we have would in some form be susceptible to rowhammer. And when that happens, we want to know that rowhammer has occurred so that we can prevent bad things from happening, like hijacking of the system. Ideally, we want integrity protection, but we don't want to pay for it. Can we get that? Server memories use DIMM that support error correction. Each DIMM contains extra chip to store the error correction information. The two most commonly used error correction code in DRAM are first segmented. It can correct 1-bit error and detect up to 2 bits of error. The stronger form of error correction is called Chipkill, which can detect 2 chip failures and correct 1 chip failure. In conventional codes, the detection capability is really a byproduct of correction. You don't design the code thinking about maximizing detection. You think about maximizing correction, and detection is really an add-on. The question we try to ask in this work is that can we get integrity protection within the space of ECC bits while maintaining the correction level? Our first proposal is integrity-protected ECC memory. Conventional segmented design is organized at an 8-byte granularity. For each bus transfer, we get 64 bits of data, 8 bits of ECC, where the 7 bits are really required for single error correction and 1 bit is required for the double error detection. However, we don't interact with memory at an 8-byte granularity. We interact with memory at a 64-byte granularity, which is the granularity of a cache line. Then why have ECC code at 8 bytes? Our proposal organizes the ECC code at the granularity of a cache line, 64 bytes. So across 8 transfers, we get 64 bytes of data and 64 bits of ECC code. We can use 10 bits from that to have single error correction for the line and incorporate a 54-bit MAC all within the same space and get strong integrity protection. In practice, the chance of 2 single-bit errors tracking 2 independent words of a cache line is negligibly small. So increasing the correction granularity, instead of one word having the correction at one line, provides similar reliability. But more importantly, with the Mac, we would know if a row hammer failure occurs, and all within the space of conventional SegDed. Server memories can employ a stronger form of correction code called Chipkill that can tolerate the failure of an entire chip. Conventional Chipkill designs use symbol-based code. The memory DIMM contains 18 chips that are 4-bit wide each. On a bus transfer, we get 72 bits, essentially 18 symbols. We can correct one faulty symbol and detect two faulty symbols. Just like SegDed, Chipkill also operates at the granularity of the bus width, even though we interact with memory at the granularity of 64 bytes. Chipkill fails when there are errors in 3 or more chips. Thus, even with Chipkill, flipping enough bit using row hammer can escape detection. Our next proposal is integrity-protected Chipkill memory that can provide strong detection of arbitrary failures. Similar to Chipkill, we assume a DIMM that has 18 chips. We use 16 chips to store data, 1 chip to store MAC, and 1 chip to store chip-wise parity across all other 17 chips. On an access across 8 transfers, we get 64 bytes of data, 32-bit MAC, and 32-bit parity. Our design uses MAC for detection and parity for correction of up to a single chip failure. Our design thus provides single chip correction capability and strong detection all within the same space as Chipkill. To conclude, vulnerability comes in various forms. There are the threats that we know about. For example, row hammer and what is a threshold. We mostly design our solutions around these threats. Our solutions sort of work. Then there are things that we know we don't know. For example, for future technologies, row hammer threshold would get lower. How much? We don't know. Will our solutions work? We don't know that. And finally, there are things that we don't even know that we don't know. For example, future attacks that are more effective, that are beyond our imaginations. Will our solutions continue to work? Eventually, there would be some sort of attack that will cause the mitigation to fail, and at that point, it is better to have a system that can detect such failures, rather than hoping and praying that the mitigation in the system works. And we can get strong detection, integrity protection, within the same space of SegDed and Chipkill for almost free. For future systems, it's important to have integrity protection, and regardless of whether they want to sign up for this whole security package of enclave, trusted computing, encryption, and whatnot. If you have ECC memories, you should be able to get integrity protection for free and detect row hammer failures. Thank you. I'll be happy to take any questions.